can break the dark. A single spark ignites the heart. But if we turn when justice calls, the chains we forge will bind us all. When truth is silenced, when lies take hold, the cost is freedom, the soul grows cold. No one stands tall while another must fall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all. We're mavericks of freedom, rebels in the fight, defending every voice, defending every right. For the moment we falter, the moment we stall, we lose our own freedom when we let others fall. You can't stand free while others kneel. When justice fades, it's freedom they steal. An innocent condemned, a crime unspoken, and with it the bond of liberty is broken. No tyrant rules without our consent. Oppression thrives where silence is spent. Stand for the weak, the silence the small, or freedom will crumble for us all. We're mavericks of freedom, guardians of the light, fighting for the truth, for what is just and right. For the rights of one are the rights of all. We rise or we fall by answering the call. Even those we may oppose deserve the rights we all uphold. For if we deny them what is fair, we build our own prison in despair. The fight's not easy, it never will be, but justice for one is the key to be free. We stand as mavericks, together we strive, defending the rights that keep freedom alive. We're mavericks of freedom, rebels in the fight, upholding every truth, protecting every right. When one is oppressed, we're all in the thrall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all. So take a stand, let your courage rise. Defend the truth, don't compromise. For the soul of the world, the writing's on the wall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all.
Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Welcome back to the Maverick News Channel, everybody. Great to be here. Great to have you all with me, with us tonight. So much going on. Where do I begin? People messaging me today. Too much insanity out there. People can't tell what's real anymore. It's bad enough people are making things up for us, abusing free speech to manipulate us. It's even worse when people make up their own realities and then try to suck you down into their rabbit hole. Somebody's trying to do that to me They were trying to do it to me just before we came on the air over the past hour. That's why I'm just a little bit off center right now. So I apologize for that. But, this plays into what I'm just dealing with behind the scenes. It really plays into what I was going to talk about tonight anyway, later in the program, about free speech and why the chat on the YouTube channels has been shut down. This channel has largely been an exercise in free speech, an experiment. We're going to talk about that tonight. And we're going to talk about the new Pope a little bit. This is what it looked like as the new Pope came out to greet people for the first time.
French cardinal come out and say to us, I announce to you, can you tell who great news, good news, Habemus Papam.
Annuncio vobis gaudium magnum. Habemus papam. Eminentissimum, ac reverendissimum Dominum, Dominum Robertum Franciscum, Sancte Romane Ecclesiae, Cardinalem Prevost, qui sibi nomen imposuit Leonem decimum quartum.
That's what it looked like. Robert Prevost, the missionary from Chicago, spent most of his career ministering in Peru. First Pope elected from the United States in the history of the Vatican. Only took 2,000 years. 69 years old. Member of the Augustinian religious order. Took the name Leo. Pope Leo. Oh, the theories, and the conspiracies. Oh, they'll be flowing now. What's behind the name, the symbolism? Religion is in itself very mystical, isn't it? It really comes down. I'm talking about what's real, what's down those rabbit holes. Is God real? What is reality? It's a matter of faith. We'll open the phone lines tonight so people can weigh in a little bit if you want. Hopefully we get some new callers. Millions of people all around the world, billions, tuned in to see the new Pope. A real event grounded in Faith. A leap of faith.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
We'll come back to all the stuff with the Pope in a while. Everything's changing. Some people think they have it figured out because they listen to the narratives online. I saw a video the other day, and this is the proof, and here's a video. Well, they have people running around. Everybody's running around watching videos. Some people are shifting the entire world over in Russia. It's Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum in there. It's the New World Order. Yeah, maybe. But look at this. I've been telling you, it's not quite as simple as that, because there's this whole other side to what's going on. Here's Putin and Xi Jinping at the Kremlin. Here's the Mario Naufel post. And listen, look at what he's writing. And I've been pointing this out for quite a while. He writes, Putin and Xi unite in Moscow. Please pay attention to what I'm about to say here now. A new world order takes shape. I didn't make it up. It's right there. He's saying it. I think the last big meeting they had with all the BRICS nations, leaders from the BRICS nations, they literally were using the phrase New World Order. You know, we saw the emergence of what they were calling sort of a New World Order, or Bush referred to it as a New World Order. You know, Kuwait, then Iraq. But no, this, what's going on? This is definitely a reshaping of the geopolitical reality. We'll make it full screen so you can get the full effect of this New World Order taking shape. The one that so many are inclined to just ignore because they're looking inward, gazing at their own navels. As Donald Trump pulls back and cedes leadership of the world as people cheer. And Canada pivots, as do other countries, to strike new trade deals to survive in the turmoil, the chaos that is Donald Trump's tariff war, worldwide war on mostly friends of the United States, imposing essentially sanctions. With China, it's not just tariffs. It's almost like a trade embargo, which could be considered an act of war, really. Insanity. Absolute freaking insanity. And then we're seeing tonight to talk about this trade deal that Trump has with the UK. It's a preliminary trade deal, and it's sending a signal to countries around the world, including right here in Kazakhstan. This is just reshaping global trade. So it hasn't been finalized. Still don't have all the details on this. We are seeing that Trump is unilaterally reducing substantially a lot of the tariffs now against the UK as a result of this. And I'm not sure exactly where Canada stands. People are like, oh, yeah, the conservative streamers are saying Mark Carney is Trump's best friend. Mark Carney's in business with Trump. No, there's some political, there's a coordinated political agenda or campaign or objective, I guess, behind all of this stuff that we're hearing from these streamers. Make no mistake of that. They after losing the election, the conservative streamers, they all have the same messaging. Now they're trying to portray Carney as Trump's best bud. Why? I don't know. And yet, strangely, I could also see that as they were hoping, even though they were hoping Pierre Poilievre would win the election with the Conservatives, some people even calling into this program, they were already trying to set things up for him to fail. Like they wanted Pierre Poilievre to win the election, but then fail. I think, now this is me just theorizing, because they want what comes next. They're looking for, and I think it comes down to like the PPC in Canada, which is or maybe the emergence of another party after what comes after. See, because then they can say, you see, it doesn't matter if you have the Liberals or the Conservatives, you get the same thing. It's just useless. Democracy's useless. The system's useless. Tear it all down. That's what a lot of people were trying to set up. Not for later. A minority conservative government can't get anything done. You get them elected, put them in. People were already frustrated with the Liberals. Now they're going to be frustrated with the Conservatives. And then you just peel off that support and you ride a wave in. I'm pretty sure that's what they were trying to set up. But then they didn't get what they wanted. Plan B, Liberals got in. So Plan B is now they're trying to, I guess, portray Carney as Trump's best friend. He's not. Even though and Trump is playing the game. And I think Trump did want Carney to win because he knows that, especially out west, people are not happy with the Liberals. So you get Carney in, and it just fuels more discontent. And that's why he said, and this is me, this is just, maybe it's a conspiracy theory, okay? But he said he'd rather have a Liberal. It'd be easier to work with that. Yeah, because if what your goal is to destabilize the country, then you want the guy in there who's the easiest to attack. And since there is this global war on liberalism, and since the Liberal Party has the big L as the brand, and they're progressive, which is what they're really at war with is progressive liberalism, then it's a lot easier to just deal with that, keep that in place, and you can keep on hammering on that and use that as a, a, a wedge to rip the country apart. And I think that's largely what's going on. So even as he sits there and says, Mark Carney's a very nice guy, just look what happened at the end of that meeting, where things seem to sort of deteriorate. Not clear what he wants from Canada. It's just, I don't know. I just want to be friends. Saying, and then when asked, is there any chance that we could end that you would, anything that could happen here today or in the near future to have you reverse course on these tariffs? And he says, no, nope. Well, why not? That's just the way it is. Yeah, it's just the way it is, because the whole objective at this point is really just to create chaos. Don't be clear on what you want. It's a drug issue one day. It's a national security issue with China, and the next day it's we need the auto industry back. And then he finishes off with a flourish at the end of that meeting with Carney, who didn't quite get Zelensky'd, but he had to sit there and listen to Trump drone on, and then at the end had to endure his, we don't need anything from Canada. We don't even want it. We don't want your oil. We don't want your lumber. We don't want your cars. And Chrystia Freeland, we really hate her. And Carney's in a no-win situation as far as the conservative podcasters, because he's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. He's just damned. Criticizing him for sitting there not saying enough, but you know that if he had said very much more, they would have criticized him for saying too much. And the truth of the matter is, he showed, I think, incredible restraint and chose his words very carefully when he did speak. And I love that word that he picked to describe Trump going into this thing. And what he said to Trump is that he's a transformational president. It's the perfect word. So you say it to Trump, and it's like he thinks that you're complimenting him. Well, that's a good thing. I'm transformational. It plays into his ego, but you can take it both ways, because what Trump is doing has been, incredibly destructive, incredibly aggressive. And he's certainly transforming everything and ceding the U.S. position of leadership globally in doing what he's doing. So yeah, it's transformational, all right, Donald. And Carney is there was a lot of wisdom on display in that meeting, and a lot of patience. Yeah. A lot of tolerance, a lot of restraint. Thank God. And it is better to have him there than Justin Trudeau. Well, just about anybody would be better, but no, he that was an even hand at the wheel, steady hand at the wheel in that meeting. He knew, just shut up, just shut up and take it. But that's a big part of what politics is about anyway, isn't it? If you're a politician, you really have to just take it on the chin a lot of the time. Even if you come into power after being elected, you might enjoy a honeymoon period if you're lucky. Carney a little bit maybe with the supporters, but he's not even being given that period of grace. They were smearing him, hacking on him, beating him up in the political arena even before he took the leadership. Yeah. Comes with the territory. That's part of the job. Yeah, it's a whole lot different than running a big company as a CEO, and it's a whole lot different than being the governor of a central bank. And there's a whole lot of lying going on all the way around these days. So that's what comes back to reality, right? And a lot of that lying seems to be on display, where Western separatism is concerned. Here's Danielle Smith. On Power Play, CTV, the host, really pushing the Premier of Alberta on the separatism issue. And rightly so, doing her job. I'll play the clip, and then you can decide, is Danielle Smith being honest here?
How is it helpful, though, Premier, with respect to open the door to, for example, a citizen-led referendum on separation, if your overall objective is to engage in more fruitful negotiations with the federal government? And if, in fact, that referendum results in a vote to separate, would you?
I would say there's a lot there. I would say that we were in the process of modifying all of our elections laws because we had heard that the thresholds for both recall and citizen initiative were too high, and so they were unrealistic. So that was a process that was taking place independently. It may well be that this is an issue around autonomy is the first one that garners enough say.
Okay, I'm calling her out on that. The timing of the announcement the day after the election on Bill 54. No, that's not an accident. And that's not because they were planning this well in advance. This came because the Liberals won and she was just waiting. I don't know that you would have seen that happen if the Conservatives had taken power, even in a minority situation. But with the Liberals back in, no, day one, bam, there it is. She's picking a fight. Also, Bill 54, as I said the other day, and I'm just going to pull her off the screen here for a moment and just comment on this, because I did mention it the other night, but not in the fullness that I would like to have addressed it. Bill 54, which then lowers the threshold for a citizen-led initiative calling for something like a referendum on any issue, she says. It's less democratic than what they had before, and let me explain why. She's saying that the previous thresholds where they needed to gather enough signatures on a petition to push through a motion for a referendum on any issue was too high and unrealistic. No, it wasn't. No, it was possible to get those numbers, but very high, because it ensures when you have a high number that a majority of people want something. And when you're dealing with something that is constitutional in nature, both a provincial constitution and a federal constitution, you need a very high threshold in order to protect people's rights, which are protected by a constitution. The lower the threshold, the less democratic it becomes, because it empowers smaller groups of people. It enables small groups of people, minorities, to dictate to the majority what they want. And in this case, they will want a referendum, and they'll push this referendum forward. The reason it's less democratic is because it empowers the minority. I referred to this the other day as the tyranny of the minority. Danielle Smith refers to Bill C-54 as an exercise in direct democracy, and therein lies the underbelly, the negative and even potentially destructive and certainly anti-democratic underbelly of direct democracy, because it gives the power to a minority of people. It also creates more and more chaos within the democratic system the lower the threshold is set. On the surface, this direct democracy approach looks like it's very democratic, and you would think that the lower the threshold, the more democratic it is, because it becomes more realistic for people to get or push through a citizens initiative or a referendum. But the lower the threshold, the more of that you're going to get. And the more destabilized the government becomes. That's the problem with the direct democracy. What I'm saying is the threshold right now is 177,000 votes. You get 177,000 votes, and then she extends the period of time in which they have to gather these votes in order to push forward a motion to call for a referendum, which she says she would honor. The lower the threshold, now and I think they have 120 days now versus, what was it, 90 before. I hope I got those numbers right. But it's 177,000. Why 177,000? It was like 600,000 before that. And the higher the threshold, that's just showing that you need a majority of people to push something like that through, to initiate it, which means that it's a majority that is calling for something. But if you lower it now, all it takes is 177,000 people in the entire province to kickstart the initiative, to put the wheels in motion. Wheels that could run right over Alberta history and sever Alberta's ties to Canada, allowing the province to separate. All because 177,000 people pushed that through. Why 177,000? Why not make it 50,000? Wouldn't that be more democratic? What if it was like 1,000? All you need is 1,000 signatures on a petition. Where's the number come from? It's arbitrary. So that in itself, throws into question, what is democratic? What's fair? Why not make it 50 people? Maybe one. What if one person wants it? Where do you set the threshold? It's arbitrary. And you see, the lower you go, the less democratic it becomes. If it was one person, if one person could just call for a referendum and just sign their own letter, just write a letter and I want to have a referendum on Tuesday. Oh, well, it's a petition and we got that one signature. We have to do it because it would be undemocratic not to honor this minority. What she has done is she's empowered a small group of people. And this could be not just for a referendum. It could be on all kinds of issues. So if you don't like something in the education system, something in healthcare, maybe you want less government funding for healthcare. That's your issue. You get 177,000 signatures. You put that through. It's a citizens-led initiative. You'll have a referendum on that. And then that, I don't know, is the referendum then binding on the government to change its legislation? The lower that number is, the less democratic it becomes because you're empowering special interest groups, fringe groups, small groups of people with a very specific focus or issue. And once they get the wheels in motion on these issues, now they put it out front and center. And as you can see with the separatists out there, they have this massive PR campaign, I would say even propaganda campaign. And you have foreign governments even influencing what's going on, in particular the United States. You have these political activists from Alberta going down to meet with U.S. officials, MAGA, the Trump team, lawyers. It's a campaign. They've been working at it and working at it and working at it, and they're not going to quit until they get what they want. Or they're going to try. They're just not going to quit. They haven't quit, and now you see they've set this up, and they're trying to time it all just right. And I don't know if that's even with foreign influence in this. Is that free and fair? Is that a free and fair vote that will take place? With even the campaign that's going on right now and the way that they have people so upset and divided, is that fair? Is that free? Are you free? Are you free of mind, free of will? It comes back down again to what's actual reality. because we see these influencers, the activists, in some cases just straight up outright lying. And then what's Danielle Smith really doing here? What has she really done? She's rigged it. She took the standard, she took the bar and took it from here and just put it way down there to rig the system to get the outcome that certain people want. Is that more democratic or less democratic? Was it unrealistic to have it up here to begin with? Is it more realistic that who says? Well, she says, or maybe the people behind her, her puppet masters, they say. Not only that, she made another change in Bill 54 that isn't getting much attention. And this is important. In order to change the Alberta Constitution, you needed a referendum to approve the change in the Constitution. Any constitution, this is the provincial constitution I'm talking about, any constitution, though, needs to be set up so that it's extremely difficult to change it, because the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of Canada, that forms the foundation for your entire political system and even your society. And it is there to really, it's supposed to protect your rights and your freedoms. It's sort of it's one of the checks and balances that is in place against the government. And so working for the people, if the Constitution is well written. But regardless, in a free democratic society like ours, you don't want to make it easy to change the US Constitution. You don't want to make it easy to change the Canadian Constitution. Otherwise, your country becomes very, very fragile. Once that's set and you have a system of government in place and something, it provides part of the glue. It is largely the glue that holds the whole country together. If you have a politician who just arbitrarily writes into a bill 54 that eliminates the need for a referendum in order to change the Constitution, she just gutted the Constitution, because she's now left it basically completely vulnerable, defenseless against the tyranny of the government. Now, all that it takes to change the Constitution is a piece of paper with the writing on it from the government that passes in Parliament as the same way that a piece of legislation would pass. Legislation is meant to change over time if necessary. You can change a law, but the Constitution, that underpins everything. You don't want to make that easy to change, because then your country can fly apart and your government can abuse your rights, take your rights away. I'm blown away that she, just the fact that she did this. This is also why First Nations leaders out there yesterday came out not happy, some of them. And we saw a news conference yesterday where they said Alberta is no longer allowed to come and survey for energy on their First Nations lands because of Bill 54, which they see as an affront, an assault on their sovereignty, because they are nations within a nation, not full nations in the sense like that. They're actually more of a genuine nation state than Alberta is as a province. That much is very true, because they have special treaties, all the different First Nations across the country, with the federal government, the Crown. Their treaties are with Canada, not with Alberta. And now they're saying you're not allowed to come and survey for energy on our land anymore, because we have treaties with Canada, not Alberta, which is true. And Danielle Smith has not consulted with First Nations, which she is obligated to do. So Bill 54 in itself is unconstitutional. What she's doing is unconstitutional. If challenged in court on that front, I don't think Bill 54 would even stand up. Even the Sovereignty Act, the Sovereignty Within a United Canada Act, that's not constitutional either. And if challenged in court, and I think the time is coming when it may well be, I don't think it will stand up as being constitutional either. Even that was forged and pushed through without consultation with First Nations. And as a result, there is an obligation to do so. And Danielle Smith didn't do it. That one point alone makes the Sovereignty Act unconstitutional. And it's been used twice, invoked twice. And Trudeau, when the Sovereignty Act passed, he said, let's just see how it plays out. But the day is coming when I think there is going to be a challenge in court over the Sovereignty Act and maybe Bill 54 as well. And I don't know how far it will go. A lot is going to depend in the end on how much influence, how much pressure is applied from the United States. And so I think that anybody that's still downplaying the role of the U.S. in this, the influence that the United States is having up here, if you're still downplaying, you think this is some sort of a joke or it's not one of the serious factors here, it is the most serious factor in the whole thing, because there is foreign influence over what is going on in Alberta right now and Quebec. And it's U.S. influence. And so too in Greenland. Because the world is being reshaped. There is a new world order taking shape. Donald Trump is part of it, but he's not the only one at the center of the storm. It's Putin. It's Xi. It's what's going on between India and Pakistan right now. That war that's now raging over there too. We have like literally a war between India and Pakistan. I showed you the attacks. Was it yesterday or the day before? I'm losing track of my days. The world is, it's immersed now in World War III. If you can't see it, it's because you're not paying attention to what we're saying here on the program. We are in World War III, and it's a hybrid war. It's an unusual war. It's a war that the world has never seen before, this kind of warfare, fifth generation warfare, hybrid warfare. And Canada is more resilient than I think anybody really expected. Canada is in play. I think you have China certainly wants influence here. I don't think they want to take us over. I don't think they're in a position to do that. Anyway, Trump wants to blame everything on China. They have propaganda teams up here pushing that narrative. There's some truth to it, but there's a lot of exaggeration. And the reason that is happening is because they're deflecting, distracting, blaming everything they're doing on China. Oh, yeah. Look over there, China, big threat. Meanwhile, you have politicians literally going down to Mar-a-Lago to make a deal and maybe sell out the entire country as a result, or at least one province, and then fracture the country so that maybe it can't survive. Because it literally puts it just splits the country right in half geographically. And then you rig it. See, I see a lot of people talking about freedom, a lot of freedom fighters talking about freedom. And it's becoming clearer and clearer and clearer how fake they are, because they don't really believe in freedom. They're part of a freedom movement. I'm not talking about everybody, but I do see this. And I don't think that the people who are engaging in what I'm talking about here right now even understand what they're doing. They say that they are for freedom, which would by extension, I would say, mean that they must be in favor of democracy. And yet they don't believe in democracy at all. They just want what they want. For them, freedom is getting rid of people they don't like, deporting anybody they don't like, getting the political outcome that they want, or at least the programs or the changes in government that they want, and the end justifies the means no matter what. Because they don't feel like they can win. In fact, they have become a minority, or they are a minority. And that's why they can't win an election. because their ideas don't resonate among a large enough group of people so that they can win a majority. And if they can't win the majority, they can't get what they want. So what do? They rig it and call it democracy, more democracy, direct democracy. Danielle Smith represents a minority of people. But because they've taken over her government, first through the party, and then gets her elected, now she's the premier. She represents a minority of people. She's beholden to them. They are the puppet masters behind the scene. They're controlling her, the separatists. But they don't represent the majority. So she's rigging the system to accommodate them because she owes them. Lower the threshold for a referendum through a citizens-led initiative, through a petition, 177,000 votes. A small group of people can force this issue, inject it into Alberta, to force people to look at that issue, get it front and center. Then you have this massive information campaign underway, very aggressive, to get people to upset, appeal to them on an emotional level, tell them anything you have to tell them, attack those liberals, attack that government, attack Mark Carney, attack Doug Ford, split the Conservative Party, do whatever you have to do. Influence, 24/7, 365. All because a small group of people are forcing this issue. It's a special interest group. Not a majority, but they're going to try to turn it into a majority through advertising, which is not journalism. It's not a fair and balanced messaging campaign. It's a narrative. They're selling you something, a tax break. And a narrative that's telling you you're getting ripped off. We're not taking it anymore. Where am I hearing that? Oh, it sounds a lot like Donald Trump. We're not going to let the world rip us off anymore. Yeah, Alberta, you're getting ripped off. The tyranny of the minority. James Madison, Federalist Papers, United States, referred to the tyranny of the majority. That's why you have the Electoral College. That's why some people say the United States is not really a democracy, which is very true. He referred to the tyranny of the majority to make sure that, like, heavily, densely populated areas like New York, California can't dictate to flyover country, farm country. So you have to give more of a voice, more weight to people who live in less densely populated areas like farmland, rural areas than they might otherwise have, in order to make sure that they're not voiceless. And that's a good approach. But the whole idea there is to provide balance. And so the tyranny of the majority is a very real concern, but so too is the tyranny of the minority. And that's something that nobody ever talks about. I'm not even sure if anybody's even written about it. You're hearing it here first, maybe. I don't know. Probably not. Some philosopher out there has come up with this, but that's what this is. It's the tyranny of the minority. Potentially tyranny, because the bar has now been set so low. It's a real thing. All right, I'm going to take a little break. Come back, more on the other side.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
And before we move on, the 9 demands that Danielle Smith, the Premier of Alberta, came up with for the federal government, completely unrealistic. It's not going to happen. So maybe Alberta will end up leaving, because there's no way the federal government will capitulate. Because really, it was an ultimatum. It was, you might as well leave, because what Danielle Smith asks for in the 9 demands is that the federal government give up all of its power and all of its jurisdiction over provinces, over everything. See, the provinces do have jurisdiction over resources and the development of resources within their territorial boundaries. And some people would argue they have full control. Federal government doesn't have any say over this. This is all ours. This just belongs to our province, whether it's uranium or nickel in Ontario or oil in Alberta. But it isn't quite true, because the federal government does have powers. They do have tools that they can apply to influence the way resources are used, distributed, and even sold. The federal government has jurisdiction and control over foreign trade. The federal government could essentially tell any province, no, you're not allowed to sell this commodity, this resource, to the United States or Russia or to any country. If it's in the national interest, federal government could prohibit it. Maybe we're at war with a country and we don't want to export oil or uranium. The federal government might say to the Ontario government, no, we will not sell uranium to Russia because they're going to build nuclear weapons with it, or to Iran. And the federal government can tell Ontario, no, you can't export that uranium. It's a national security issue. And we have control over international trade. Now, you do not, as a province, have that authority. We can exert our authority over that. And where federal and provincial jurisdiction connect, the federal government trumps that every time. It's in the Constitution. Also, taxation. The federal government does have tools of taxation they can apply to resources, in particular through environmental regulations like carbon pricing. That's really one of the main reasons the federal government keeps, and they're using, and they're going to continue to use carbon taxes, because that is how they're able to apply taxation to provincial resources. That's the tool they use, because it's through the Constitution. The federal government has jurisdiction over environmental regulations nationally, and over that supersedes, it goes above and beyond, and again, trumps the authority of any province on environmental issues. So those are the tools that the federal government uses to assert influence. First Nations have rights too, but that's how the government can ensure that every province acts in the national interest. The federal government's acting in the interest of all of Canada, not just one province. Those are the tools they have. But Danielle Smith is saying you have to give up all of that. And it really does. If you go down the list of all 9 demands, that's what she's asking, not just asking, demanding. So I say, if that's where it has to go, then what is the point? You're not participating in the country anymore. You're not part of it. She's saying they want to be a sovereign province within a united Canada. But if every province has full control over their sovereignty, then there is nothing cohesive. There's nothing holding the nation together other than maybe singing the national anthem. And what good is that? What's the point in that? There isn't one at that point. There's no national cohesion. Nothing to hold anything together. The country would actually then cease to exist. The federal government needs to have and retain its power. And it does have the power. But in order to keep the peace, because we're a nation of compromise and conciliation, it hasn't been pushed to that level yet. She's forcing it. So I wonder, is she really being honest with people? Is she acting in good faith? Let's listen to more.
Signatures to be put to the people. But I would say my job is to look at what we see in the world out there. We've got 30 to 40% of Albertans polled saying that they are dissatisfied with the country to the point where they would consider it. And my job is to try to bring those numbers down. That's what I'm doing. That's why I have been told by my caucus and by the people that I speak with to give this new prime minister a chance to.
But she just threw aviation fuel on the fire with Bill 54. She's making it worse while saying that it's her job to calm things down.
See if we can get to a deal, and that's what I intend to do, is to go into those discussions in good faith and hope that we can get to a resolution and a meeting of the minds.
Isn't the easiest way to quell that sentiment to say it won't happen?
Right.
Well, I think you can see that if there isn't an outlet, it creates a new party. In Quebec right now, the Parti Québécois is polling highest of the provincial parties, and we also see that the Bloc won a significant number of seats. I don't want to see that.
Then let them form a new party. But she doesn't want them to form a new party because they are your party now. The Alberta Prosperity Project, Take Back Alberta, all these separatists, they got involved with the UCP. And now the United Conservative Party is the separatist party because the people controlling the party are the separatists. Where did she come from? What party was she part of before she became the leader of the UCP and now premier? She's a separatist.
That happen. I want to see us identify the issues that matter to people. Let's not demonize people. Let's acknowledge that the feelings that they have a root, and the root is in the way Alberta has been treated for the last 10 years by the Liberals. So that's genuine. And I'm being very direct with the Prime Minister and saying, if we can solve some of these things, I think that will bring the temperature down. And that's what I'll continue to do.
If the vote is yes, would you pursue separation as Premier?
I have always said that I do not support separation. I support Alberta sovereignty within a united Canada.
Whatever. Double speak. Double speak.
That's what our party supports as well. It's in our statement of principles. It's what my caucus supports. And that's my marching orders, is to do what we can to make sure that our autonomy is respected, the Constitution is respected, some of these damaging policies are removed. And I think we can end up with a deal that
you can try to get a better deal, but what they're doing is they're trying to hold an economic gun to the head of the entire nation, saying, if you don't give us what we want, then we're leaving. And what they're saying is, that the person with the money, right? It's the golden rule. Those with the gold make the rules. She's saying they've got the gold. We're making the rules. Doesn't matter that we only have 5 million people in the entire province. It doesn't matter that only 30% of the province even thinks that separation might be a good idea. And you keep on going down the line, and it becomes less and less and less democratic, doesn't it? So a province of 5 million dictates to the rest of the country. Give us what we want. We want our sovereignty. We want more sovereignty for provinces, less for the federal government, if any. We want full say over everything we do here. You're not the boss of us. We want these pipelines built. We want them built now. And we're going to build them. We're going to jam them right through there. We don't care about the rights of the First Nations. You don't have any rights. You don't have any. We got to put our pipeline through. We want guaranteed access to tidewater on the West Coast, the East Coast, and up in the North. Guaranteed. which means at some point somebody doesn't have any rights because you have to take it. A bunch of people probably don't have any rights if you let that go through. So if that's guaranteed, do they even have to pay a share to anybody? If it's guaranteed, the federal government's obligated to facilitate that. And in so doing, they would have to, doesn't matter about First Nations. You don't like it, can't do anything about it. Alberta's got guaranteed access. Guaranteed. Is that in the Constitution? No. Will they have to make a constitutional change to get them? Maybe. What does that mean? Guaranteed. You see? Not so simple, right? So you make that a condition of staying. I don't even know if it's possible to provide a guarantee like that because you're violating other people's rights, other provincial, you're violating other, the jurisdiction of other provinces. So Alberta is the most important province in all of Canada, and they get what they want. These demands can't be met. Not like that. We can talk. They're going to talk. But with that level of division, with that kind of approach, I don't know that this is even a genuine effort to try to initiate genuine negotiation. It seems like it's almost an unsolvable problem. We'll see if there's a willingness to actually engage in meaningful dialogue and negotiation.
That works not only for Alberta, but for the entire country.
Right.
So do I take that even if the vote is yes, that you would not pursue separation in your capacity as Premier?
My job is to make sure it doesn't get to yes. My job is to make sure that the temperature is...
But she's making sure that it happens.
Brought down so much that there isn't even a need for a citizen-initiated referenda. And so I think that the Prime Minister has a window here in the next 6 months to be able to meaningfully address the issues that we've put on the table. And if he does, I think we can have a really constructive conversation about making the entire country an economic powerhouse, finding new markets, tearing down internal trade barriers. That's what I'm going to be focused on in the next 6 months.
And I have a few questions about those policies that you would certainly want him to consider. But saying that, you don't want to get to the vote is not the same as saying that you wouldn't pursue it if it is a yes vote. Just to be clear to Canadians who are watching in Alberta and outside Alberta, if the citizens of your province vote to separate, are you going to pursue that?
What I have said is that I will respect the outcome of citizen-initiated referenda, and that's why it's my job to make sure it doesn't get to that point. I want Canada to be strong and united, and for provincial jurisdiction to be respected, and that's what I'll be working towards.
Surely, though, you can recognize, Premier, that the feasibility...
Sounds wonderful. Sounds like she's just protecting her turf, but no, it's very aggressive. The demands are unrealistic. She's put forth demands that the federal government can't meet, not as they are. Maybe she's just asking for the moon, hoping that she just gets a little bit, but it seems very unreasonable.
Visibility, even
in spite of Pierre Poilievre saying before that during the election that what Danielle Smith had been talking about seemed very reasonable to him, but no, what she came out with that right, the day after the election, no, it seems very unreasonable.
Even if the vote were to go ahead, is incredibly complicated. And some of the, for example, Indigenous people in your province have highlighted that, healthcare transfers, how does your system work without them? Like is it responsible to leave that door open in any way?
Well, I think that's up to constitutional scholars and to lawyers to discuss. At the moment, there isn't a petition campaign. There isn't a question. All there is I think some goodwill in trying to be able to resolve some of the issues that have burbled up over the last 10 years. And that's what my intention is going to be. But you may have to talk to a legal scholar about some of those issues. But there has been Supreme Court jurisprudence on this that has given some direction, and that may be a starting point for scholars to look into it.
I'm not even talking legally, though. I'm literally picturing Alberta, where you and I both know I lived for almost 5 years, with a healthcare system that does not have healthcare transfers. Like, how does that? Let's take the law out of it. Shouldn't you be honest with Albertans who are expressing this sentiment, which is, I understand, not coming from a place that isn't unfounded completely. That sentiment is not something to be dismissed, but shouldn't you be honest with them about what it would mean if they were to vote yes, and now that you've opened the door to following their instruction, what that would mean for their social services, for their health care, for a whole host of things?
I think you're getting ahead of yourself, Vashi. There is no question. There is no petition campaign. There is no vote. All there is me saying that I support a sovereign Alberta within a united Canada, and that I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that those issues are not ones that we have to deal with. I want Albertans to feel like their issues are addressed. And that's what my mandate is, and that's what I'll be working towards. I've said I'm not putting forward a provincial sponsored referendum on that issue. If citizens garner enough signatures, it will be put on a ballot, but it's certainly not something we're doing as a government.
Sure, and I take that point, but I would also point out that during this interview you said if the citizens do decide something, then your job, you said, is to respect their decision. How is...
Yeah. If the citizens push it through, and she just made it a lot easier for a small group of citizens to force the issue, while saying it's her job to dial it down, calm everybody down, make sure that it doesn't happen, while she makes sure that it happens. Double speak. This lady's not acting in good faith.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
I had a great conversation, a private conversation with Dragon. Was it yesterday or the day before? Same thing. It's all just time, blends together anyway, right? We're talking about mostly, reality, free speech. And I've been saying that I'm going to explain why the chat has been shut down on the YouTube channels. And the conversation with Dragon kind of went into that area. And I said to him, we should just have this conversation on the program because it was actually a great conversation. So I hope that we can reach the same level of quality in terms of content within that conversation as we continue the conversation here on the program. I'm going to open the phone lines. Dragon will, I think, call in so that we can have that conversation and share it with you tonight. And then the phone lines will be open if you guys want to weigh in on that or any of the other issues or stories that we've covered here tonight. Or maybe you want to talk about some other stuff too. I'm open to, talking about some other things on the program tonight too, within reason. Here's the number to call. Exercise your right to free speech through the phone lines. Okay, Mavericks, it's call-in time. Join the conversation. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Exercise your right to free speech. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Maverick News. Call now. The world is watching and listening to you. I'm back, and just a reminder that if you appreciate what we do here, if you value it, you can support the channel by donating at freedomreporters.com. Freedomreporters.com. Let me see here. I think we've got Dragon ready to go. There we go. Yes, sir. Okay, Dragon, you're in the back room. Are you waiting in the back room there, sir? Okay, just one moment. I'll get you on the screen in just a moment. Yeah, so folks, you can donate at freedomreporters.com. You can also e-transfer at rw581 at aol.com. If you do use the e-transfer method, please make sure you complete the security question when prompted by Interac and apply the answer or note to be the word Maverick, all lowercase. That way we will know what the answer is. We're not guessing the answer to a mystery question that we don't have the answer to, because they don't give us an email address. We may not be able to contact you to find out or get clarification. So if you could just assign that word Maverick, then we can complete the deposit into a business account, and that's why they require you to do that. rw581 at aol.com. And yeah, we again, it's just that time of the month when the bills are coming due, and we greatly appreciate the support we have. We do need some support, and I've put together another collection of songs from Maverick and the News Brothers, and it's another 10-song collection. Anybody that donates $10 or more, I will send out that 10-song collection of freedom-inspired songs as a big thank you. So yeah, and we have Maverick t-shirts as well. If you donate $30 or more, I will send you a Maverick News t-shirt. We have polo shirts for donations of $45 or more, and we still have hoodies and sweatshirts for donations of $60 or more. I'll send you a complimentary shirt. All you have to do is email your contact information along with your donation, and I'll set you up. Really appreciate that. Okay. And if you want to join the conversation, you can do that by calling in at 1-647-734-4220, 1-647-734-4220. The PIN number, which you will be prompted to punch in when the system picks up, is 860-075-764, followed by the hashtag sign, the number sign, the pound sign. Let's bring Dragon in now. Hello, Sir Dragon. Welcome back. How are you tonight?
I'm doing good. How are you, Rick?
Well, I'm okay.
Good.
I'm hoping we can replicate the conversation that we had the other day, because it was, I enjoyed our back and forth conversation on this. And I have to try to remember now, how did we begin the conversation, or where should we begin tonight's conversation, I guess is the real question, so that we can get into this in a meaningful way.
Well, if I do remember well, when I called you, I told you the way I was observing things into a sort of anthropological point of view, or say a psychological uh, speak, right? And the way I see things going on in most of the channels, and I mean the chat content, is turning to a cesspool of toxicity in a certain way, where basically you have a closed down, completely a closed down of free speech to a certain extent, because of depolarization of the ideas, and also, say, the echo chambers that we are living in. So, yeah, it's one interesting point, I think.
Okay, so yeah, we were talking about well, I called you originally. It was actually me who called you the other day, if I remember right, but or maybe you called me back. I can't remember. Doesn't matter. We're talking, and it was about oh, it was about a link or a to a video that you had posted, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and it was to a channel, and I have to remember now because it was a couple of days ago. The content was about oh yes, the Antichrist. That's what it was
Yeah.
about. Just a light topic, right? The Antichrist. And I don't really want to lead people to this channel, because this is why I called you. I was like, why is Dragon sharing this channel with this subject about the Antichrist? The subject was focused on this guy who claims to be the Antichrist. And the guy hosting the program was saying, this guy's not the Antichrist. He's sort of a fake Antichrist. But then when I was looking at the channel, I was like, oh, I see what's really going on here. I see what this guy is really all about. And what he is he's a white Christian nationalist extremist who
Yeah.
is sort of pro. Well, he's just an extremist, is what it comes down to. He's a white supremacist. That's what the channel was, but he's cloaked, and the narrative that he engages in, the information that he's spinning up, is designed to indoctrinate people, and it's not really apparent what he is on the surface. So they soft pedal it up front, and then over time they suck you down into their hate and their anger and their dangerous world of division. And that's exactly what that guy was. And I don't want to tell people what the channel was, because I don't, if they find it on their own, that's their problem. But I don't want to promote the guy at all. So anyway, I was just curious about that, and that's why how the conversation began. But that got us to this whole conversation about what is free speech and what is, acting in good faith, and then the conversation went on from there. So you kind of remember that, right?
Yeah, I do remember actually. We were speaking about how two ideology become basically a paradoxical situation, where one ideology would tell you that they are say, the only one true one ideology to follow, and the other one that needs you to respect other ideology, but at the same time you cannot have both.
Yes, that's what it was too. Yes, the this paradox, this unresolvable problem in a free society, because what was on display there too through that video, and this guy claims to be the Antichrist, is a clash of two ideologies and two real religions, essentially, which is sort of Islam, radical Islam, even, especially radical Islam, and radical Christianity, and clashing. And so it's about people's rights. How do you preserve people's rights in a free society when certain people aligned with or committed to an ideology of extremism dictate that their way of thinking, their religion, their faith is the only right way. So in order to say that if you say you have freedom of religion, then you have to allow everyone to practice their religion. But if you have even one religion present in your society that dictates to the followers of that faith that their religion is the only religion, that their religion must dominate, if in their faith they believe that they must not only practice their faith, but must dominate society and impose, say, Sharia law on all of society, or if you believe that Christianity is the only religion that is the right one, and you therefore need to mesh the church and state in order to ensure that your faith is preserved, and then you are but you are imposing your morality over the rest of society, including people who do not share your faith, then how do you resolve that in a free society? Because if you allow one religion to dominate, then another religion's rights, or the rights of people who practice another faith, their rights are being compromised or infringed upon. That's the paradox that is unresolvable, just largely in a free society.
That's true. And also, where is your free speech of what said both ideology goes, or where the limit are between the two? You know, I mean, to a certain extent, there's a form of radicalization between the two that are prevalent and become pretty much the tone of the conversation.
Right. Because you do see people, even in the streets, as they clash. You know, we've seen people say, well, my religion will be the dominant religion. We're taking over and we're going to rule you. And so you do see people with that mindset, and that's pretty extreme. And if you have a free society, well, how do you then say to that person, you're not allowed to have that belief, or you're not, you know, how do you prevent that? That's why our society, as a liberal democracy, and when I say liberal, I don't mean like the Liberal Party with a big L liberal. I mean a liberal democracy, which is what all of Western society has been based on, is liberal democracies. They're all liberal democracies. Rule of law, free speech, democracy, these concepts. If you have that in place, I've lost my train of thought. I apologize. It's been kind of a long day. Okay, so help me out here, Dragon. Where was I?
Well, basically, you were making the statement that, you know, where you have those two ideology clashing, basically what you have between those, let's call paradox, you know, those will clash to the extent where you cannot have that conversation at the end of the day because of the polarization of both ideas. And this is why, you know, you have this freedom of speech limited to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes, I'm sorry. So we're in a secular society. It's a division of church and state. That's where I was going. So in a society where you divide church and state, it becomes necessary to do that in order to ensure that you have freedom of religion by removing religion from government, other than to say that the supremacy of God rules, that your rights and freedoms come from a higher place, that it comes from God. But it's important, I think, and this is what we've largely done in our society over time, is that we say that, yes, we're based on Judeo-Christian values, perhaps, but people have the right to reject that, which is to say that really we're not a society that has rights. And we do have a new caller on the line, by the way, so just hang on for just a moment, caller, and we're going to come straight to you. It's not that we're no longer a society that is entirely based on Judeo-Christian values. In fact, we can't really have values based on religion. Our courts over time have, made it clear that largely we do not legislate morality because we are a secular society now. And that's how you sort of guarantee freedom and freedom of religion, freedom of speech, by saying that, yes, your rights come from a God, but you don't define what that God is. That God can be a God of any God that people decide that it is. It's just God, not a God of any particular religion. In so doing, it can apply equally, but you can't allow any one religion to dominate or dictate. And it's important to remain, I think, a society where we have a pretty clear division, a separation of church and state. And yet we're seeing the rise of parties. And the more I think about it, the more I see the value in the separation of church and state, but we see the rise of parties that want to reintegrate the church and the state and take us back to a time when morality was injected into legislation, when morality was imposed upon people more, when really Christianity was injected into legislation and the way the country was governed. And I know a lot of people want to get back to that, but in order to keep the peace, as evolved, especially since the 1960s in our society, we've become a more secular society with that division more clearly defined. Who's on the line? Who's joining us now?
Hi, it's Brian Howell.
Hey, go ahead.
Hi, just enjoying the conversation.
Yeah. So what do you think?
Of course.
You mentioned a quote a little bit earlier, Rick. Tyranny of the minority?
Tyranny of the minority, yeah. Where's that come from? Where have I heard that before? I can't be the only one who's ever come up with that.
Well, I've heard something similar to it. Dictatorship of the proletariat.
That's a good
Vladimir Lenin said that.
Mm-hmm.
Tyranny of the minority sounds like a version of that.
Interesting.
Anyway, I'd just like to congratulate the Pope, Robert Prevost, is it?
Yes, yeah.
Is it Leo the Eighth or
No, Leo the 14th, I believe.
Oh, Leo the 14th.
Yeah. XIV, right? So that's Leo the 14th.
Yeah. Well, congratulations to him and his installation as the
Donald
head of Roman Catholicism.
And Donald Trump says it's a great honor for America. First U.S. Pope, first American Pope. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
It seems timely given the way the world is being shaken up right now and the United States changing its role in the world.
Well, you would
I'd just like to touch on one thing from last night's show.
Sure. Can actually, I need to take a very
the ostrich farm.
Yeah, just hang on a second there, Brian. I need to take a real quick break, come back on the other side, and then we can dig into that if you like. Hang on.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
And actually, before we get to that subject, Brian, that previous everything we were talking about previously was supposed to segue into the reasons that the chat and YouTube has been shut down. And I can say this, okay? So people hammering on me, you don't believe in free speech anymore. You never believed in free speech. You're fake. And Dragon, you and I had a conversation about this, right? So,
Yep.
no, this channel has been an experiment in free speech. When it was resurrected, I made it clear that I wasn't going to ban anybody. I was trying to never ban anyone for any reason. We tried that. And for a while, it seemed it was sort of okay that the chat was generally pretty even tempered. And we had in the beginning, a couple of years ago, we massive audiences. We were at times, 150, 170,000 people a night. That was pretty good numbers for a Canadian channel. I mean, really good. Yeah. And the chat was robust and we had a lot of conversation. But over time, especially as issues evolved and, you'd get less and less cohesion or agreement on things, the chat started to just become more toxic, especially when I would stand up for principles and take a position on things because it was the ethical and sometimes moral and even the safe thing to do when I'm trying to protect people and keep people safe. So then I would come under attack. And the chat over the past 3+ years, almost 4 years now, right? 4 years.
Yeah.
So it's just been progressively worse and worse and worse and worse. And then more extremism as people have been exposed to really toxic ideas and ideology, and they've been more and more indoctrinated, and they feel more and more emboldened and empowered to be more and more racist even, or hateful or divisive.
Creating an echo chamber at the end of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they bring it into the chat. And so what has happened is over time, we've had to impose a limit here and then another limit over here and then another limit. And then, but people would come in. We had trolls. We had people who then would come in and act in malicious ways. They weren't in there to exercise free speech. They would only come to attack, not engage in conversation, not discuss even the ideas being presented on the program. They're only there for one purpose: to destroy the channel. They would say things, call for violence, say things that would get the channel in trouble, knowing that YouTube has rules, and they don't care. They're in there to cause problems. And we've had channels banned. We've had literally taken offline in other chats. But the main channel at times just banned for a week or 2 weeks, get strikes against it. And by dominating the chat, they're in there being purposefully destructive. The objective is to destroy the channel. And so over time, the channel has turned into a channel of decline because of what is going on in the chat. Strikes by YouTube, suppressed in the algorithm, complaints to YouTube from people from the chat, people telling me, messaging me, I'm effing you over because you're to attack us. So they're attacking the channel, and they do a lot of that through the chat. Also, I am aware that there have been coded messages being sent through the chat that probably shouldn't be sent. And when I became aware of that, and that they were exploiting the platform in order to do that kind of thing. It appeared that that was going on. I was like, no. And also to lead people to the kind of videos that Dragon and I were just talking about. I'm like, no, this is not what this channel is for. The channel is here to have open dialogue. We're supposed to be engaging in conversation, to discuss issues, and to even support each other. Be constructive, not destructive, not to come here to just exploit the audience to lead them someplace else where they can look at content that may or may not be reflective of liberal democratic values and freedom, which is what this whole channel is dedicated to, is true freedom. So if you've got people in here leading people to channels that with other points of view, I'm open to having people discuss other alternatives, other ideas, ideologies. And we do have people on the program directly talking about everything from communism to, the extremes on the other side, all the way across the spectrum. We bring everybody on here and have given literally everybody a voice. But that doesn't mean that I have to let people come here and sell their political product. And exploit the platform. And if someone's on the channel, or if I say something that people don't agree with or don't like, then they don't get to come here and just destroy it. That's what the chat. So then they accuse me of being anti-free speech, because as they engage in this destructive activity, and I'm imposing some limits, and now I'm being forced. You see, they're forcing me to ban them, or forcing the mod to ban them. And they want to get banned. Then it gets to the point where they want to be banned so that they can then make a new account, or that their partners in crime in there can then say, see, this isn't a free speech platform. He's not about free speech, because they forced the issue. So it just got so bad, and the channel just kept getting hammered, and the channel was in decline anyway. So they destroyed it. They destroyed the channel. There was no forward momentum with the channel. No point in maintaining it. And the other one of the alternative channels is growing, slowly growing. Well, that one's just like going straight into the dumpster. Because of all the negative stuff going on with it. So I'm like, okay, well, I have no choice. What is the point in keeping it open when it's just going through this destructive process of being turned into it's just in decline? There's no point. I can't even operate the channel. I can't do anything productive. There's no point in even doing the program. I might as well quit, because I've got digital brown shirts working to undermine everything we're doing. And in the process of accusing me of being against free speech because I'm trying to prevent it and save the channel and save everything that we've worked for here, they're the ones who are actually working against free speech. They're the ones forcing the issue of censorship. They're the ones forcing me to do it. And in the course of doing that, see, it's not them that's being censored, it's you. But it's not me censoring you, it's them doing it, because they're trying to take away the whole channel, and they've been successful. They took away the chat. And if I don't take away the chat, they're going to take away the whole channel, and we won't even have the call in. And that channel is done anyway. Like it can't come back. It's so damaged that I don't see any way to fix it. Because they're trying to shut me up and shut you down and shut you up. They don't care about you at all. They just want me shut down because they don't like what I'm doing, because I've said something at some point they don't agree with, or I've had a guest on that they don't like. And so they're the authoritarians. They're the ones who are anti-democratic. There again, it's the tyranny of the minority. A few malicious, terrible people, a small group of very aggressive people who only want what they want, and They don't care about anybody else's ideas of free speech. If you disagree with them, they're going to engage in cancel culture while sitting there complaining about cancel culture. That's why it's happened. Don't blame me. Don't be sending me nasty texts and messages and emails complaining about it. And there have been a lot of people attacking me because it happened, but I was left with no choice. There's no point. So there it is. That's shut down.
It's true because, you're giving us a privilege and an opportunity, I think, to, raise our voice and our opinion on whatever is going on, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, look, when I come on your show, or actually on the program, sorry, when I come on the program, and if I start to say whatever I want, it's basically the same thing that if I come into your living room, right? I'm not gonna come with my boots full of mud and start to, just scrap your beautiful carpet that you just have cleaned up, right? It would not be fun at all.
Well, it's also, you see, it was odd, the reactions that I got from people, but predictable, I suppose. It's like people think I have because I have the channel and because we have an audience and because I've said that I believe in free speech, which I do, real free speech. But it's like now I have this obligation to platform people and to not only platform them, but give them free reign, absolute free speech with absolutely no limits, no time limits, like just have a free for all in the chat. One person can just sit there and just like post, I don't know, constantly. Or do you see what I'm saying? It's like, but I'm not obligated. I don't have to do anything. And but I do bring a lot of people on with a lot of different views that I don't agree with. So I do believe in free speech, but I'm not obligated to let them come back and come back and come back. I don't have to let them use this as a promotional platform. They've come here, they've said their piece, they move on. Doesn't mean I have to have them back every Tuesday to sell it to you again, especially if I don't agree with it, especially if I think it's harmful, especially if it goes against our values of freedom, free speech, actual free speech. If they're infringing on your free speech by dominating the chat, if they're scaring people away, if other people don't feel that they would be welcome in the chat, then the chat is limited. They're limiting speech by dominating to the point where other people are so intimidated they're afraid to come in. I don't want that. There's a place here for everybody. There's room for everybody if they want to come in. Well, there was until all this happened. And I'm trying to preserve with a mod and some mods who are, in the Rumble channel. I'm trying to preserve that.
Why don't they phone in?
Because they're afraid. You see, they don't really have good arguments. They're not here to make real arguments. And if they engage with me, obviously they're going to have a hard time, because then they'd have to think and present real arguments. They don't have arguments. They're to smear, to snipe, to criticize, to attack, say stupid things, like, are you a liberal? What?
It's like, to me, Rumble right now, what you are doing with Rumble, it's the last bastion of our free speech, because we need to basically uphold to that freedom of speech. But in order to uphold it, we need probably to make people more mature, I think, to a certain extent. And if I can, okay, I want to answer to someone on Rumble, Pack Whacker, who's saying something along the way that I'm being dramatic, and basically that freedom of speech is not a privilege, but our goddamn rights. Well, I want to answer to that one. It is a privilege to the point where I cannot say, for example, till I don't say something along the way that, hey, Rick, I'm going to come to your house and going to slap you in the face or, threat someone. The free speech is basically respected. If I go upward that limit, my privilege will be taken away, right?
Yeah. Oh, and I'm just looking in the chat now. And thank you, CBC Brown and Trifoot Proton Mail for your donation. And Norfa, thank you. And Lindy, thank you so much. And CBC Brown again for your donations tonight. I can't tell you how much you're saving the day. Thank you. Really, really, truly appreciate it. So, we do have a great family. Family of misfit toys, I say. We do, but
Well, you're only allowed 2 toys. No,
that's 30. What I was thinking just yesterday. That's what I said to John. I said, we've always said we're a family of misfit toys here from the island of misfit toys. And then Donald Trump comes out this past week and starts talking about the tariffs in that interview on Meet the Press and says, well, you don't need 30 dolls. You can have like 3. That's why we had that image on the Trump Trader song of Donald Trump taking the doll away from the little girl. He literally is we had Justin Trudeau, the Grinch who stole freedom, right? But now we've got literally the president who's about to steal Christmas with tariffs from the little girls who he doesn't want to have toys. Doesn't care.
Well, what are your impressions, Rick, of the Oval Office? All those decorations and all the gold.
I think it's.
You know what it looks like to me? It looks like the boudoir of some bordello in the French Quarter of New Orleans. It just looks.
It's gaudy.
Tacky.
Very tacky. It is. That's a good word too. Tasteless. It kind of gross. Yeah. This guy. And yet, Brian, it doesn't matter what he does. So many people are like, just find excuses for him. And I think what it is when especially if you're watching this train wreck happen and you realize that you've made a mistake, it's so embarrassing to admit it. It's so hard to admit it to yourself that people double down and just keep lying to themselves, like really lying now. Because
did you hear what he did to FEMA today? They're just about done as a government agency.
Oh, great. Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I'd
just like to say one word about the show last night. I was a little bit too harsh, but there's no way of dealing with that issue without walking away unscathed. And I may have sounded a bit like Wile E. Coyote trying to blow up the Roadrunner.
No, you know what? Save your thoughts because there's going to be more on this. I think we're going to do another program on it with more information in the next day or two ahead. It's just sit tight.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Sit tight on this one, my friend. We're going to revisit this. It's a difficult issue, but I'm still digging. So sit tight.
Can you play along with me for a moment, Rick?
Sure.
With this Alberta issue?
Sure.
And do you remember your French Revolution history?
I can't say I'm an expert because I'm not.
Yeah, well, I've done enough reading about it over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And Napoleon used a referendum to do something similar to what Danielle Smith is doing.
Mm.
He used a referendum to create his populist dictatorship. And he also supported by the Reign of Terror. He also used it to get the French people riled up on one single solitary issue. The old F word again, freedom.
Mm-hmm.
He used another referendum to become emperor.
Yeah.
And those who are going to vote yes in Alberta or no to secede, that doesn't solve any problems. As you were mentioning earlier, Rick, it's just like these, they're trying to put this separation bond issue on the ballot. It's 177,000 people deciding the outcome of the entire province.
Yes.
And they're getting supported by all their podcaster groupies like Rebel and all the others. And
Mm-hmm.
and just before he went into exile, Napoleon said, "I myself destroyed the revolution I loved so dear." And I don't know what Danielle Smith thinks she's doing with her accords or referendums or plebiscites. And do we vote yes or no? Am I allowed to pull the trigger or not? Do I yank out the bolt that lets the guillotine drop or not? Your choice, Alberta.
Yeah.
177,000 of them.
Yeah.
But good heavens, what a way to run a province.
I'm there with you. I'm sad. I never thought that I would see this. And it is the tyranny of the minority that's driving it. And they're timing it, and they've got a strategy, and it's a campaign. And it's driven by emotion, not reason, not facts. And there's so much.
You have you have said that people are driven by emotion, basically, and I will say probably from my understanding that this emotion and that frustration probably came from when we had those restrictions at some point in time, and people have completely lost their faith into governmentship.
Yes. Yeah. And be lovely. Thank you for your donation. $10. Thank you so much. And anybody donating, if you send me your email address, and I'll send you those songs, that new album. Happy to do that. And we're working on some other stuff too that we can share with people down the road. But boy, I love Alberta. I do. I wonder though, these people calling for separation, do they really love Alberta? Do they love Canada? I love Canada. I didn't realize how much I loved this country until the pandemic hit. I didn't realize how much I cherished freedom until the pandemic hit. It really focused me. That's what got me focused. My God.
Same here. It got everyone focused.
Yeah.
And we took Canada for granted. It was always going to be here. It's always going to be paradise. And,
yeah.
And always.
Yeah. And I don't think people really recognize what is going on or see what's going on because we've never faced this kind of threat to the country before. This isn't just an Alberta thing. This is Canada under attack. And it's breaking my heart.
We agree.
Well, who will stand up to defend her? Yeah.
I will.
Me too. I'll stand on guard. Trying every night. Every night.
I'm willing to die on that hill fighting for Canada. And I mean that.
Yeah. Yep. And there is a difference between, standing up for your province, standing up for Canada. Canada is a much bigger thing than Ontario. I'm not Ontario first. I live in Ontario. I can move to Saskatchewan tomorrow. It's like it's one country to me. We're all Canadians. That's what binds us together. Just it's there's a bigger ideal that covers us all with the Canadian umbrella. Whether you're French or English or from BC or the Maritimes, whether you're from Northern Ontario or if you're with the any of the First Nations in this country, it's something very unique. And you saw that on display too at that news conference, that First Nations news conference. And I'm sorry I didn't have enough time to really even take note of exactly who that was, but they're absolutely right. They stood there and they said, Danielle Smith, this is what we think of your Bill C-54. And they threw it on the floor and they said, you're no longer welcome to come on our land to survey for energy because we don't know who you're surveying for. Absolutely right on the money, and follow the money. They've got it right. They've got it figured out, because these separatists, they don't love Canada. They're selling the country out. And in the course of doing that, they're selling out Alberta too. And the First Nations know it. And they're disrespecting and ignoring First Nations and their rights altogether. They don't care. And they're quite right to say, well, who are you surveying for? You're not for Canada. For Alberta? Well, Alberta what? Is Alberta going to be like just on its own? And then like, what does that mean? We don't even know. And you see all this U.S. influence. Where's that influence coming from? Is that MAGA? Is that the Trump administration? Is it a big company, a corporation, oil companies? Who is it? It's not transparent.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
It's
indeed.
true. I can see that.
It's becoming clearer by the day, and politically as well. The activists who are out there, they're it's becoming clearer who it is, what they're doing.
It's interesting. A couple of weeks ago, when Pope Francis died,
mm-hmm.
and the only coverage I could see was on the mainstream media about it. But what was I seeing on Rebel News that day, or the very next day? They did an entire live stream about Jordan Peterson's interview on the Joe Rogan show.
Mm.
And then the day after that, they were doing a major live stream about comparing Mark Carney to Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah.
And the day after that, they were doing a piece about Chris Barber getting bad legal advice from Keith Wilson 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't cover the death of the Pope.
Yeah.
Or they're probably not even covering the installation of Pope Leo.
Who's on the line with us? New caller.
Norfa,
thank you for calling in.
you're welcome. How are you today?
Well, I'm just trying to hang in there. Oh, I'm okay. Thanks.
Yeah, it seemed to be a little bit doom and gloom, so I thought, well, I'm going to call in and just try and send a big yellow happy smile over the airwaves. So
Thank you. We can use some
you're
inspiration
welcome.
tonight. Thanks.
Yes, absolutely. No, actually, I was calling in just in my industry, trucking down south here. Recently, there's a thing where a lot of drivers that whether they're legally in the U.S. or not, that they're getting fired from driving truck because they're not able to speak or read or write the English language. And there's a page I follow, and there's a lot of drivers, calling them the officers that are like, they're getting their stopped right there and then and having their trucks towed away.
Mm.
And this is really happening in the U.S. And so anyhow, I was reading quite a few comments, and there were people that were saying things that weren't so very nice. And I just had enough. So I had commented the other day, and I just said, had you drivers chosen, number one, come into the country legally and learn the culture that you decided to come to, it was your choice. So you should adjust yourself accordingly to the country that you choose to reside in, and respect the country, respect their ways, and but to learn about the country and live accordingly. And, so I really don't have any sympathy for them. I mean, I don't want to see it happen, but these are all about life choices. You made the choice to do wrong and get away with it for so many years, because there's drivers that have been driving for 20, 30 years and they've lost their job just like that from night to day. And, they're crying about it now, but you're crying about something that you brought on yourself by simply not doing the right thing. And now, if it were me and I went to a foreign country, the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to learn the language. I'm going to certainly respect the country I'm in, and I'm going to learn the life of the country that I chose to go to. That's how you can live a good, simple, happy life. You adapt to the situation that you put yourself into. And I just get so tired of hearing these people, it's always pointing the finger elsewhere. Sometimes we need to step back and look in the mirror and take a really good look without even saying anything. Just take a good look at ourselves and say, okay, where am I going wrong? What did I do wrong? Rather than pointing the fingers. It's not always, somebody else. Sometimes it's just ourselves. And we really have to question ourselves. So that's what I was calling in to just natter about a little bit.
Sure. If I move to Russia, I need to learn how to speak Russian. If I move to China, I should probably learn how to speak Chinese. I get that. Yeah.
Well, the thing too is that, like, these people that are driving trucks, and I mean, like, rigs that do X amount of miles an hour all day, every day, and can cause a lot of serious accident, serious damage. These things can happen. So if you're not able to read or speak or print the English language, then how are you reading our signs on the road? How did you even get your car license is my question.
That would be my question. So maybe you can answer that. Like, do you know how someone who maybe comes from how do they get a license to drive a transport truck if they can't read the street signs?
Yes, exactly. And you know what? I don't ever like to go by hearsay, but that is all I can go by, because I have never seen it firsthand, and I haven't been there. But, and I don't like to say this, but I have heard that it's all payoff. They pay off truck driving companies. One person, like, somebody knows somebody, and they put them in touch with somebody else that can get them a license if they give them X amount of dollars, and just show them how to pass the test, and bang, there's your license. Away you go. Next.
So I hear talk about this, but is how widespread is the problem really? Like, I know that, like, I don't know.
I would say it is widespread across North America, quite honestly, in my opinion. And I say that with 100% down, because I'm out here, and I do see it and I hear it sometimes, not a lot. I mean, no one's going to go around bragging about this type of behavior, but it's definitely North America wide, in my opinion.
Wow. So why the trucking industry? Why is it manifesting itself in the trucking industry? Because they have a shortage of drivers, and this is how they're addressing it? Is that what it is?
they say that we have a shortage of drivers. I don't personally. I don't believe that. I don't think there's a shortage of drivers. I think that there's some drivers that are in this industry not for the sole purpose of being a good professional qualified wannabe truck driver for his life, but in my opinion, and things I've again, I'll say that I've seen and heard through the grapevine that they're in this business for other reasons. And we can branch out on that to a few different ways, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Doing stuff that's not so legal. Yeah. And yeah. There's a few people that I knew of that were involved in that type of stuff, and they're no longer driving for that very reason. They were stopped, got caught. That's it. You're done. And they did prison time. So.
Yeah, well, truckers have always been targeted by groups, people, because you need to get your stuff to transported, right? So yeah, who else are you going to go to? You know, so the industry is vulnerable to that. Always has been. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. But it definitely is not what it used to be by any means. And I know there's thousands of drivers that could say that. There used to be a time when driving a truck was a very, very highly looked upon profession. You know, you took great pride in your truck, and the truck driver, he was always the one that would, if you saw a car broke down, you would stop, put your four ways on, you'd get out, offer help, check if there was children or pets on board, you know, if it's summer or winter, offer warmth, sit in the truck until help can come. I mean, that's just how we did things, truckers helping truckers. Whereas now, I wouldn't turn my back to a trucker, not on your life. You know, the trust out here is it's just no good. And you know, just like we've discussed before, because things are so difficult for people in this world, for everyone, some more than others, some not so much, but everyone's just trying to hold on, and some people are pushed to the edge of not doing or not being able to survive, so they're turning to alternatives that certainly are not in their best interest, or anyone else's for that matter.
Well, when I was a kid, like a little kid, I knew adults who were truck drivers, and they made a pretty decent living. By the time I grew up and got into my 30s, 20s, and 30s, everything seemed to change, and owner operators became more prevalent, but I don't know that they were making any money. And today I wondered, is it even a viable profession with the cost of fuel and insurance and the regulations, and can you even make any money?
Well, let me put it this way. In any business, if you got a sharp pencil, you can make things work, but it's definitely gotten a lot harder to do that. And I'm not talking about being dishonest. I'm talking about really knowing your numbers, you know, how many miles you can make a day, how much fuel it's costing you. I mean, just keeping sharp tabs on all these things play a big part into your final pay. We just actually bought a new truck. I think it's just 7 days old now. And this truck is our last truck. We were getting 8 point. Oh no, sorry. We were getting between 7.1, 7.2 to the gallon, and this here truck we're getting 9.
Oh.
So we've already calculated that we're going to be saving over probably anywhere between about $3,000 to $4,000 a month on fuel.
Whoa.
And I'm looking forward to that.
Wow.
I'll be able to buy an extra an extra bag of treats at the dog store for Cosmo.
Wow, that's an amazing savings for just a couple of
Isn't
miles
that?
per gallon. Wow.
Yeah, and we've already done the figuring, and I'm just like, wow, we're going to have some extra money. This is going to be great. Instead
Amazing.
of going to McDonald's, maybe we can go to Wendy's.
There you go. Another caller on the line. Who's there?
It's Leo and not the Pope.
Well, how are you tonight?
Oh, not the Pope. I'm getting it all day long, Rick. What a name. What a name. What a name.
I thought as soon as I saw that name, I thought of you.
Every ex-girlfriend I've ever had since I was a kid is probably thinking of me today. Everybody that hates me is thinking about me today. Yeah, pretty funny if you ask me. I don't know much about the Pope Leo, but I do know he's American, and Donald Trump's going to take all the credit in the world for this one, right? He dressed up as the Pope last week. And Norfa, what a great! You know what? That's why I called in. Actually, you're great. You know that because you touched something on the trucking industry. Right, and you're right. There's some states that are pulling people's licenses because they can't read, write, English, and
Right.
how are they getting these licenses? It's all about dollars and cents with these trucking companies, right?
That's right.
For 20 grand, you could get yourself a license.
That's right. Yep. And the thing is, it's with these people. I mean, and it's any race. It's not just any one particular race. It's anybody and everybody.
Right.
But they're putting not only their lives at risk, but my life and everybody else.
Well, here's the story for you,
supposed
okay? I'm in the tool and mold industry, okay? So we got blocks of steel that are 50, 60, 70, 80,000 pounds that, come on trucks and go out, okay?
Yeah.
All day long. And I'm on the night shift, right? So I'm always loading these guys, right? And one guy goes to take off one day. I said, whoa, where are you going? Across the street with that? I said, what do you mean? I said, you ain't going to make it across the street with that. You better strap that down properly, buddy.
Wow.
East Indian fella, right? So these guys, they're not trained properly on strapping the stuff down on the beds. Even their weight capacity. I said, this ain't even. You got a flatbed that the capacity is 50,000 pounds. The block of steel I'm putting on, it's 80,000 pounds. What do you think's going to happen?
Exactly. That's right.
You're going to drop your axles.
Yep.
Right. You better get the right truck here, right? And it's not my business to call that, but you know what? I could be saving somebody's life down the highway.
Thank you. Yes, 100%. You are 100% right there, Leo, and thank you for that. It was about 3 weeks ago. I'll just throw this little story in quickly. In Abbotsford, BC, we were in our private car. We were actually home for a change, which is rare. But anyway, we were in our private car and we were driving down the street in Abbotsford. And there was a flat deck and it had a load of steel. And it was on a local street, like where a Shoppers Drug Mart is, a gas station, stuff like that, on a local little street in not Abbotsford, sorry, it was Chilliwack. In Chilliwack, and it was a flat road, no turns, no hills, nothing. The guy slipped his load on what was the street? I think it's Yale Road. Right in front of the yard. He was making his left turn, and I don't know if maybe there was a chance for him, instead of coming to a complete stop and making that left turn, he just decided to kind of dance it in there. And when he made that left turn, he must have been going just a little bit too quick, and he actually flipped his load, and all the steel was laying all over the road. I couldn't believe it.
If Rick looks up an article from yesterday, exactly, the Ambassador here on Church Road, okay, take a look at that transport accident where it happened. You can't get to a speed of 30 kilometers an hour off the bridge from where that happened. I know the area. I live right there, right? So, my wife showed me. I said, "How is that possible?"
I know. And that was like this thing in Abbotsford. Like, he had to have been going way over the speed. There's no way that just happened.
Brutal. brutal. You know what? You hit on a big story. That's why I called in, because I think I told Rick this before when I called in a couple of years ago, anyways, about the transport truck drivers that come in, right? You know, I'm not a transport truck driver, but I know right from wrong, right? And these guys are getting their licenses. You're going to California with this load. You're not going to make it across the bridge.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And I could just, and we've had trucks get turned around at the bridge, and they come back here and they're expecting, well, we got to take the load off. This is, you got to get it. It's not our responsibility. You got to get, you know,
that's
you got to
right.
go find somewhere to offload.
Ringing.
Right. You got to go find somewhere to offload and get a new trailer and everything else. You just can't, that's not our business, right?
So we had, what do we have here? 3 trucks yesterday, 3 or 4, or how many? I have pictures up here on the screen.
Rick, you know the area too.
Yeah.
That's right where the protest was.
Yeah.
So off the bridge to the protest, how are you getting that speed to get into a 3 or 4 truck accident? You got the light right there that stops everybody at college.
Well,
like even on the prairies, there's constant tractor trailers going into the ditches. Like, what are you doing? Are you looking behind you in the bunk and driving forward? Because I just do not understand how this stuff happens. There's accidents, and then there's just pure negligence.
What the hell happened here? I don't even understand this, Leo, because it looks like this guy must have been going the wrong way on in the wrong lane or something. Like, what the hell is that?
How is that possible? That's what we're looking. My wife showed me it. I was like,
I don't know what this is.
I know the area. How is it possible? Right. But this is going on everywhere. Okay. It's dangerous for me to drive, and Rick knows, okay, because we're in the same area practically, to drive from his area to Toronto. Try that one. Okay. I'm driving 120 kilometers an hour down the 401 coming back from Montreal. Guys are flying by me like I'm standing still in transport trucks.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so scared. I'm in the right-hand lane, shaking. I'm like, I'm white knuckling it. Okay.
Yep.
And it's brutal, really. It's brutal. You know,
it really, really is.
This is
the more
bizarre.
I'm just glad I wake up in one piece every day.
Look at this aerial shot. It doesn't make sense. I'm missing something here. I don't get it. It's like, look at the position of these trucks. Like, is one truck towing another truck, and then it gets Is that a tow truck? Maybe that truck was being towed. That's why the back end.
Right.
Okay.
And the tow truck got hit, and just that little span right there is only a half a kilometer from the bridge. Okay, and these 18-wheelers take. Well, I'm not an 18-wheeler driver, but they do take some time to get up to speed, right?
So it looks like, you've got this one here. This says Kichima on the side. So it looks like it got rear-ended by the tow truck, which was towing a truck that then then the truck being towed was hit by the truck that was trailing behind that. And then I don't know if that other truck actually hit the back end of the 3rd truck or 4th truck.
So you didn't even know about that accident, eh?
No, I didn't know about
it. It happens so often.
Look it up myself. Yeah.
Like BC, I know BC very well. Langley, Abbotsford, where you're talking about, where your accident happened, right? The Flats.
Yeah.
Okay, I know the area very well. Mission and Chilliwack and all of it right there.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's dangerous. It's dangerous driving there, Rick. You got the hills. You got. You better know how to gear down and everything, because you're going uphill, downhill, right? And you're going downhill with a big load. Imagine how fast you could really get if you're not gearing down right properly. And your brakes and maintenance on your, these guys don't know. Like you're saying, Norfa, the old school days of drivers out there took pride in what they were doing. Okay, it was their occupation.
That's right.
And most truckers knew how to maintain their boss's property properly, right? They knew when the brakes were going and everything else, right? These guys don't know. I don't think they care. It's all about making that dollar, right?
That's right. Yep, exactly. Yeah,
and if you can't read or write, if you can't read or write, how do you log in your hours?
Exactly. I mean, everything's ELD now, but still, it's you can't read or write. You can't do that either. So what is it you're doing that you're getting away with driving supposedly legally?
Yeah, I've never heard anything like it. So another story there, Rick, you were talking on about Carney. You know what? He could have, if I was him, let's say I was the prime minister, as soon as he mentioned the word 51st date, he should have got up and just walked out. We're not ready to negotiate anything. Okay. He would have won the support of the elbows up 100%, and he probably would have won my support.
Well, maybe, but you can't do that.
Well, what are you dealing with here?
Yeah,
right? You Donald Trump better come to the table, okay? Because this is going to affect when you say, we don't need your autos, we don't need your aluminum, we don't need your steel. Okay, bye-bye. How's that sound? You're going to need us when we shut off the taps, okay? You need water? Guess what? We hold it.
I think our friend, I think David Wiley, who was on here, kind of touched on the right solution. I think it just give it time, because tariffs are not going to work, not the way that he's using them. It's already resulting in market turmoil. Just you wait till next year. You wait till Christmas, and there will be all kinds of pressure on him. And David was, I think, quite right in pointing out that Trump is really looking for a way out to save face and make it look like he won something. So just, I think that my opinion, Carney, he did what he had to do. He had to sit there and pretend to, and just smile while Trump did what he did. And
yeah, but to insult Christine Freeland. Now we all know a lot of people, I don't know about you or anybody else, but you know, she wasn't a very good minister at all. Okay. I didn't enjoy her at all. Yeah. But if I was the godfather to her kids and you were talking shit like that, you know what?
Yeah, but
it is what it is. He would have gained a lot more support worldwide. If he would have got up and said, you know what, we're not going to play your game.
But that's not what's going to solve the problem. Solving the problem means coming up with a solution with the guy sitting next to you. That's what he's there to do. That's what his job is, and he knows that. Trudeau didn't have any respect for him, and it was both ways. That would have been really bad. And it would have been terrible. I said that we should send Chrystia Freeland just to irritate him. Right? That's why I was like, I hope she wins just so she can go down there and piss him off. But I mean, could you imagine if he had to deal with her? But no, he has to. He has to do it.
But I've never seen anything like this. I seen the Ronald Reagan, Brian Mulroney. I was 1984, 14 years old. They met. They were cordial. They were diplomatic. They shook hands. They talked about the importance between Canada and the United States trading this and that, and the free trade deal.
They sang when Irish eyes are smiling. They loved each other. Yeah.
Right. Even Bush. Okay. The next one, Bush and Chrétien. Yeah. Okay. The same thing, and Paul Martin and Bush too, or whatever. Right. In Harper, I've never seen a display like that in my life between a prime minister and a sitting president. It was just disgusting. That's what it was. Right. That's why I would have got up and said, you know what? You're going to need us. Eventually, you're going to need us. It's going to be a painful 36 months. What you got? 3 months in already? 4 months in? Okay. He's there for 48 months. And we'll get through it. The guy next door.
I got a question for you, Leo.
Yep.
Okay. Do you remember in 95 what Jean Chrétien said about NATO?
I loved him, man. You know what? I love that guy. He was the best. When he said he wasn't going to send troops over to the Gulf War I, okay? He wasn't going to do it. We're going to keep our Canadian troops.
I was referring to something. Back in the days, there were some talk about how Canada was basically giving to NATO. And Jean Chrétien said something along the way, and I will quote or para-quote here. We don't need to give much money to the American industrial complex because we are under their umbrella.
We are. And he wasn't lying.
And
you think the Russians are going to come in or the Chinese going to come in through the back door? No. They got the NORAD. They got everything, right? So
And actually, Russia's capacity is somewhat diminished. They don't have the capacity to invade us right now. Canada is also, aside from like kinetic power, we're pretty resilient. We have a lot of capabilities on cyber warfare, you know, propaganda. We have a lot of things in place where we can protect ourselves. And the real message that's going to go down to Donald Trump, and it won't be done in public so much, is that NORAD access to the Canadian North, that might not be free anymore. So you might just have to pay for that. We do contribute in a lot of ways, and so that's the reality that's going to set in for Mr. Trump.
We need to start our own Canadian businesses, okay? Like the guy next door, he's from Chatham. They own a company called Next. They're out of Vancouver. He runs it. Really nice guy. His name's Louis. Little guy. I don't know if you know him, Rick. I was talking to him today. You know, I said, you got a coffee business, Canadian coffee business. Obviously, the coffee's coming from wherever, Central America, right? But they make the pucks, and they put the coffee in the pucks. Okay, it's called Next. Really nice little company.
Okay.
I said, Canada has to start, you know, Yugoslavia made, of all places, Yugoslavia made the Yugo car. Don't tell me we can't make the Canuck Mobile or whatever, okay? We made the Avro.
Can we make something better than a Yugo, please?
Well, you know, we would.
Yes,
but those are pretty funny cars. I like them cars, actually. 3 cylinders. Garbage, but you know what? if the Yugoslavians could do it, okay, we could do it even better. We have the plants already in place. We got the people. Okay? We got the skilled trades. And that's the thing. Stop depending on America and China and everybody else. We need to start getting our shit in gear here, man.
And we will.
Right?
We will. We definitely
Canadian leather.
Yeah. Well, Lada is a company that's come a long ways, and Russia still has Lada's still out there.
You know what? I had a Lada, 1984.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even have a license. Rasto Chrysler had it on their lot, and I got a picture of me. It was my first car was a Lada. And it was pretty funny. I'm sitting in it. I look pretty big. I look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I was only 14 years old, 15 years old, working at Boblo Island. I got my first paycheck. They charged me $800 for this Lada, right? I liked it. I really did. I was the only guy in town with a Lada.
How long did it last for you?
I ended up dumping it. For somebody for $1,000, right? About a year. But it was a funny car. It was that's what it looked like, a clown car. That's what we'd call it. And since I'm a clown, I sat perfectly in the driver's seat, right? And everybody loved it. They're like,
but hey, it was reliable into the cold, right?
Yeah, I'm checking out this documentary, guys, on Netflix. If you still have Netflix, it's called Vietnam. Now, it's probably the best documentary on the Vietnam War that I've ever seen in my life. Okay, from the journalist's perspective of it, from Walter Cronkite and all the journalists, Dan Rathers. They're all young, by the way. Okay, and where it went wrong, okay, with journalism. Okay, they depicted and they showed the truth of Vietnam and what's going on. The villages being disseminated, babies being killed, everything else, right? Mm-hmm. And that went like wildfire, okay? And the coalition between JFK to Martin Luther King, the assassinations, okay, and Bobby, and just disgusting what was going on in U.S. politics, okay? And it's no different from what it is today, really. Nothing's changed. War hasn't changed. Okay, the way that they depict it now with the media, okay, is changed because they're not going to let CBS or CBC or anybody on the battlefield, okay, not like they did in Vietnam, right? But it's very interesting, and I got a couple more episodes to watch, and I highly advise you, if you got the time, check it out, really.
Yeah. Well, that being said, let's get some final thoughts from everybody tonight to wrap up.
I'm out of here. You guys have a good day. Work's going good. I still have work on the table, food on the table. The mortgage is being paid, so I'm not shaking it rough yet. And I just hope the best for everybody, really.
Thank you, Leo. Good
Thanks,
call
Leo.
tonight. Thank you.
God bless.
Thank you, Leo.
Yes, you too. Okay, and Dragon, you go next because Norfa said that she was going to give us a ray of sunshine tonight.
Well,
or something like
let
that.
me let me make you laugh one moment.
Okay.
How do you plan a space party?
Space party? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. You plan it.
Oh, jeez. Oh,
come on.
That's just like something a joke my dad would tell. Can you?
What, did you say climate?
No, he said
you plan it.
Planet. A space party. You plan it.
Got it. Oh, that because it comes from you, Dragon. That's going to be my favorite forever.
I cannot take the credit for this one. I took it from someone, but hey.
That's okay.
Go ahead. Give us a final thought, Norfa, tonight.
Final thought. My final thought is always do the right thing, be kind, and spread kindness and smiles wherever you go, because Lord knows we all need it so much. That's my final thought.
Thank you. And yeah, and I'd say this is just in case we get invaded from visitors from another planet. I always keep this handy right here by the desk. And with that being said, I can't think of anything really to top with Dragon's joke. I just can't. All I can do is say, I guess we can look forward to the future when Elon Musk and Donald Trump will take us to the soon-to-be annexed planet Mars. So with that, I will leave you tonight with MAGA Mars from Maverick and the News Brothers. Love you guys. Thanks for hanging out. See you tomorrow on the
flip side.
Bye.
He's got a plan. It's bold and grand, taking over land, sea and sand. Canada's ours. Greenland's in the mix. The Panama Canal's just another fix. But Mars, oh Mars, you pesky red sphere, your spying drones are making it clear. It's a threat to Earth, a cosmic sin. But don't worry, folks, he'll make Mars great again. MAGA Mars, you're the 53rd state. Under Trump, your future is great. With Elon Musk and the Space Force too, we're slapping tariffs on your Martian crew. Make Mars great, yeah, make Mars ours. Wave that flag on the red rock stars. We'll impose sanctions, taxes, and fines. Martian exports know they're crossing the line. The Martians cry foul, but Trump doesn't care. He'll build a space wall floating up there. Elon's on board with rockets ablaze. The stock market's loving this Martian craze. He says, trust me, folks, I know the deal. Martian gold is ours, this plan is real. MAGA Mars, you're the 53rd state. Under Trump, your future is great. With Elon Musk and the Space Force too, we're slapping tariffs on your Martian crew. Make Mars great, yeah, make Mars ours. Wave that flag on the red rock stars. Yeah, Mars hotels with golf resorts, intergalactic trade reports, a MAGA dome where Martians bow. We've got the best Martians, Trump says now. Fake news claims the plan's absurd, but Trump tweets back, it's the final word. Martian drones not on my watch. Space Force ready to kick it up a notch. MAGA Mars, you're the 53rd state. Under Trump, your future is great. With Elon Musk and the Space Force too, we're slapping tariffs on your Martian crew. Make Mars great, yeah, make Mars ours. Wave that that flag on the red rock stars. So buckle up for the Martian fight. Trump's taking over the Martian night. It's all for freedom, it's all for the win. Oh, say can you see, he'll make Mars great again. Tariffs on your Martian crew. Make Mars great, yeah, make Mars ours. Wave that flag on the red rock stars. So buckle up for the Martian fight. Trump's taking over the Martian night. It's all for freedom, it's all for the win. Oh, say, can you see? He'll make Mars great again.
This has been a Maverick multimedia production.